Okay, so today's lesson is going to be on map control. I'm going to be talking about what map control is, how I define it, how you get map control, and basically what you do when you get map control. So I define loosely map control as having manpower presence in an area or having information about an area that an area is clear. So the way you want to do it is, and I'll use mid-cache as my example, is you really want to use a combination of grenades and sending people to an area to accomplish this. So with, let's go over the smoke grenade first. With the smoke grenade, you want to be able to isolate areas. You want to isolate the Z player from other positions. You want to isolate the white box guy. And then you want to be able to use flashes in combination with pushes. You know, you flash out, the people are flashed, your people clear the area, like the immediate area. And then to get more map control, you can like molly sandbags, and then you'll be able to have this whole area, and then you have free reign over it. So once you there's other ways to get map control too. There's a more like mundane example would be taking A main control as a terrorist. You don't always get to A main first as a terrorist, you know, depending on spawns, but you can just send a man into A main usually, and he can hold it himself, or two if they've been really aggro there recently. So you're gonna have to change depending on setup and like how important the opponent thinks it is to hold that area. So if you hit a 1-3-1, you want to be expending more resources than you would if they're doing like a 2-1-2-1 cache. And what's so great about taking map control is, first of all, I think this is an overlooked point, is that it allows you to get in gunfights, and you can normally take advantageous gunfights if you're like flashing opponents, if you're isolating players with smokes. So you get the chance as a terrorist to get kills. I think it's really important for a terrorist team to get kills instead of just letting them split off on their own. And taking map control is a good way to spend your time and get in fights with counter-terrorists early in the round. Another thing that it helps you with is you get a lot of information when you take map control. So when you take mid control, you get to learn a lot about their setup, you know, how much they've invested in this round, you know, if they're being aggressive or not, etc. And with that information and information you get from the teammates you don't have in mid control, you get a lot of flexibility, so you're able to react to that information. And since mid control is in a central location, it basically, when you gain information and you get flexibility in your movement, you also deny information to the opponents, and you also deny their flexibility in movement, which is just really great. And so when you have like map control, you can transition to like a B split. You can go through vents, right? You can clear out checkers a lot easier. It's just a much easier fight than just going like all 5 B main, right? It also helps you take A easier. You know, you can just like throw a smoke truck or something and then come up highway, and it's a lot harder. It's a lot more angles for the opponents to hold. And one thing I really like about it, so I'm going to use the example of a B split. Let's say you go in vents, right? You have 3 guys coming mid, you take mid control, you have 2 guys vent. You can always just, it's like perfect for lurking too, because this route coming from like white box to vent, you know, A white box to vent, is so important for counter terrorists and being able to rotate properly and help take a retake on B site, that you get a lot of chances to make your opponents make bad decisions, which is always good whenever you can do it. And what I mean by that is, let's say you're counter-terrorist, you're retaking. Okay, so first of all, if they didn't take mid-control, you could just run up vents, no worries, you know, you can come through vents, you know, you might have to fight someone at the back corner box, whatever, right? But when you have mid-control, there's always the presence of a lurker. You know, he could be hiding behind headshot box, he could be hiding in this little cubby, he could be hiding mid-main. So, first of all, it allows them to make the mistake of not checking those angles at all, so you can leave a lurker there. But once enemies become aware of it, they might even decide to take the suboptimal route and just ignore mid completely because they don't have the freedom to move through that area. You know, they would have to take a fight, and that fight is usually not advantageous for them compared to taking the safe route. And then they spend more time rotating, and they come from what would probably be considered a worse angle because they have to go through like tree room to get to B. So that's one great way that map control helps you out. So that's pretty much it, what I want to say about map control. And you can apply those principles and everything else I've talked about in different areas of the map. You know, you can talk about like B main, you can talk about holding squeaky, what that allows you to do. You know, you can get the same mobility. You won't be getting gunfights as much here. It allows you to come from a new angle, and you can apply that to any map. You know, mid Mirage is extremely similar to Cache mid. It's a little, you know, it's slightly different. Obviously, it's a different map. And other areas like you know, like holding A long on Cobble really helps out, and you can apply the same principles to those that I applied on Cache mid. So to wrap up pretty quickly, map control allows for like a really fluid and reactive style to exploit any information you get that you gathered during the round, and it also offers opportunities for the opponents to make mistakes that, you know, they have to take the risk if they're going mid, if you know. So that's pretty much it, and all I wanted to say about map control. Do we have any questions or comments that anyone wants to give?
Yeah, I have a comment.
All right.
You're bad.
Thank you.
I knew Max would say something like that.
Is there anything else? All right, so I guess we'll just go right to community night.
Woohoo!
Thank you for attending the very long and difficult lecture.